Hey, everybody, welcome to our Designing Impactful Infographics with Illustrator. I'm so happy you guys are here this sunny afternoon on Thursday. Instead of walking around, you are here to join me, which I really, really appreciate it. So what I'm going to do today, I actually going to show you how to design not all the way infographics, but maybe icons, because infographics, it's a whole big story that you're going to do a lot of stuff. But I'm going to set you up and look at that. So what are we going to do? We are going to introduce you to Adobe Illustrator, which is the leading vector graphics application in the world. By the end of the workshop, you'll know how to leverage Illustrator to create your very own infographics. So we also have AI in Illustrator that you can do text to vector, and you might need to use your icons, and then maybe you want to borrow an idea or some kind of information from AI, and we might go into that. So what is infographics? So basically, it's a graphical presentation of a story. So instead of just writing the entire story on the page, you have a presentation of infographics or icons that they are grabbing your attention very quickly. So there's a lot of companies that doing infographics, and they're using different kind of text editors and then creating the icons most likely in Illustrator, because it is a vector-based software, resolution independent, so they can create the icon and set it up with different kind of sizes. So when you create icons for, let's say, a newspaper or an ad, you need to look into the target audience that make sure you follow the infographics unspoken rules. So what does it mean? There is a site that calls Killer Infographics Strategy, and then this is basically a few things to consider. And I'm going to read it out for you guys, and you can ask question, and maybe we're going to click on the link later and see what it is. So think about a context. Too much text might be too wrong way to go because it's too crowded and people get really, really confused. You have to prioritize your goal and try not more than 2 or 3 goals, maybe sometime 4, depending on the length of the project that you have. People has zero patience to start looking at crowded stuff that you have. I see you guys smiling because we all guilty of doing it all the time. I'm doing it on a daily basis, and then I'm thinking, how am I going to go in and eliminate some stuff and go directly to the point? Good content, 50% of infographics, it is a success. And then you have to use the correct data source. So when you're doing infographics, it's not just to create the illustration, it's basically based on a database that you can go in and start actually looking at the source and the data and the companies and everything. What I'm going to emphasize today, I'm going to talk about the icons and using Illustrator to create the icons that's going to go into the infographics that you have. I'm just going to jump over for a minute. So this is a sample of like icons from Adobe stocks that I have over here, just to show you. And this is best storytelling infographics. So basically a use case, and you can see over here, this is the story, what really makes a good story. And it tells you here with certain kind of icon, the science of storytelling, and it is a blog about it. And then what we're going to do is we're going to look at generative vector. We're going to go into drawing shape, maybe text and glyph, creating some kind of symbols. And we have time, we're going to look at image trace and maybe look at the charts and graphs that you have in Illustrator that did not update for a long time, but you can still use it for anything that you have. So I'm just going to go backwards for a minute. And then I'm going to go in and click on the killer graphic strategies over here. And then if you have, I think we send you all my stuff here, so you can see and go yourself later and look at the material and the stuff that I have. So now if I'm going to go back here, client stories. So I'm going to go back here and look at the client stories that we have over here. the research that you have here. And then I'm going to go in and look at the next page over here. And then you can see different kind of contacts and these are the client that actually they did the stuff for the killer graphic. And I'm laughing to you guys because I actually live next to this place of the burger place, and then they want to revamp it online, and look at that, it's all kind of good. I actually live next to it, and I've seen it all the way while I'm working with it. I'm just going to go back here and let's see if we have more stuff. And if not, we're just going to go in and click back and escape the area. And then I'm going to go back here to exit the full screen and go back to my killer graphics that I have over here. So now if I go back here to another area, you can see that the guys that you have, and then I'm going to go to the next one, which is the best storytelling that you have over here. So if I'm going to go into this blog and copy it, and then go into a new video window and bring it in there, you can see that it is a blog about best storytelling infographics that you have. And then you can see here the stories. Let me just take this one away from here. And then the science of storytelling. And it's basically looking and telling you everything that you want to learn about that. We are going to concentrate on the icons. So you can see multimedia, no one reads right now. Everyone is really busy, marketing is noisy, internet is too full. That's where we want to go and do a good story. And how to create a good story here, you can have some little thing. 7 steps to perfect story that you have. So basically, you have to choose your hero. What are you talking about? Maybe the story, maybe the product. And then also you choose your character and basically the rules that you have, and then set up and start working with it. So of course, I'm not going to do everything about kind of like digital marketing and the real stuff that to go into it, but we're going to go in and jump directly into Adobe Illustrator over here. So how many people used Adobe Illustrator before? Just raise your hand. I see a couple of people used it. Some people say so with their hands. So, okay, you didn't use it so much. So I'm just going to do a brief look at the interface so we're not going to get confused. So if I'm going to go to the icon all the way up in the upper left corner, this is the welcome page in Adobe Illustrator. And then you can see over here, get started, try, and then manage your settings. And then you have a Learn tab. Highly recommend to go to that if you never used Adobe Illustrator before. You have even stuff, explore the shape, take a tour of the application, and discover the artwork that how come it is so unique working with Illustrator right now. So I'm actually going to go in and jump over right away to inside Illustrator. And this is my workspace. On the left side, I have my toolbar. On the right side, I have the panel, and you're going to see I have a lot of panels because if I go to Window and Workspace, this is the workspace that I created. If you open it for the first time, it's more likely we're going to do the Essential Workspace. And then if I go to Workspace and reset Essential, you see that you don't have so many panels, and the toolbar or the toolbox actually is the basic toolbar. So under the window menu bar, when you see the word toolbars, you can see you have advanced and you have basic. I actually like to work with the advanced one right away, and I highly recommend it. So even if you don't want to create your own workspace, what you can do is go to your workspace and go into Essential Classic. An Essential Classic will bring you to the advanced workspace and give you more panels all the way on your desktop right away. What I also like to do, click on the tiny icons on the upper right corner to collapse it. And then I do have my properties over here, and I do have the Creative Cloud library. So let's talk first about the Creative Cloud library, because if you start working with Illustrator or any other Adobe application, you're part of the Adobe ecosystem, and you want to open a Creative Cloud library for any project that you do. So I'm going to look at mine and look what I have in my libraries area. And in a minute, you can see it's going to take a second, and then it's going to launch. And then over here, look how many libraries I have over here. So I have the libraries that I used recently. And then it says here USC 2024 seminar, creator logos and nature product, AI stream, Adobe Express, and other stuff here that I use with my client or I use it with a class. Let's say I'm going to go to AI stream right now. And look what I have over here. I have some kind of textures and stuff that I used, including even the paragraph and the character style that I have. I'm going to go back here and I'm going to look at USC seminar over here. And really what I have here, only the colors. So if I don't really want to have that, I can go and delete it, or I can start bringing some icons directly over here to work with the stuff that I have. So then you can drag and drop it anytime to your infographics or the subject that you're going to do. So the first thing we're going to look at is just creating shapes. And how do you create shapes in Illustrator? You can go and trace them. You can create them manually. And also you can have the help of the AI right now, and it's called text to vector. So I'm going to go into File and Open. And I gave you some files already. So if you have it, you can follow me. And then if you don't want to follow me, you can just listen. And I can have some stuff that says icons 2024. And then I have creating symbols. And if I double click on it, you can see that I have folders over here and I can start working with the stuff. I want to show you a project that we created here a few years ago and called Map Project. And then if I click on that and open the two of them, it says Info AI and you see global colors, and I'm going to go in and open that. So what I have over here is, this is Welcome to USC Campus. And what I did is I went in and kind of like scanned the map. And one of the project is actually to go in and show everybody where maybe is the schools that we have, when is places that you have coffee, where are places that you can go in and have some other stuff. And I just wrote and coffee houses. I didn't even change it over here. But then if I go back here, you can see it has something that says global colors. And then I can go and change the stuff that we have. So I can go in based on the icons that I created. I can go in and just say what it is and tell the story of the campus over here. However, this one, I called it global colors, and the other one, I just made it regularly. So what is the difference with global color and not global color? If I'm going to go back here, and then I'm going to zoom into it, and I'm going to go to my swatches, I can see that these are the colors that I used to create the icons over here. And when I created it, I made it global. And you see the tiny triangle at the bottom of the color that called for global color. So if I'm double clicking on it, this is what I have. It is a process color, and you see it checked as a global color. And then what do you gain from that? Of course, you can add it to your library if you want. I don't want to do that, but let's talk about what it is. What if the colors here were not global and then I decided on the USC colors over here. And then I kind of wanted to go in and change the colors, but I have so many icons over here and I don't feel like going to one by one. So when I have global colors, and then I can go in and just double click on the color, and you can see I didn't select anything. I just have the preview. I'm just going to go back here and look what started happening. You see the houses that I have over here for maybe the names of the school change absolutely the colors globally. So one suggestion, when you do infographics, it's probably going to be based on colors that the company is going to give you. Make sure you create global colors. How to create global colors and non-global colors? Let's check that out as well. Let's say I'm going to go to these colors over here. I'm going to select it and trash the color swatches. And I don't have them over here. But now I really want to save the colors that I have, and I want to have them together. So if I go to the flyout menu and say add used colors, all the colors that I used in the map become global colors automatically. That's one way of doing it. Start designing and then add the used colors and take away the colors that did not use. Another way is double clicking. And let's say I'm going to go in and create a color. Now I want to add the color to my color swatch. So I'm going to say new swatch. And now I can decide, am I going to use it as a global color or non-global color? If it is a global color, it's going to be mapped into the icons that you have. And then I'm going to click OK. And then you can see that I got the no global color inside. Another thing I like to do before creating icons is actually going into some of the colors that I have, select them holding down the Shift key, go to my color group, and then create a color group. So I'm going to call it browns and click OK. So everything is kind of more organized when you're working with colors. Once you start actually working with the colors, you can also export the color to have it in other files. So what does it mean? I'm having here the USC colors, and hopefully these are the right colors that are part of the USC colors. Of course, you can go in and check it out. There's places about the marketing and the colors that you have and the style guide for USC, and you have to follow it. So it's going to be the right real colors that you have. Pretend this is the right colors that I have over here. And then I want to go and export it. So what I'm going to do is go to the flyout menu, and then I can save the swatch library as an Adobe Illustrator file. And now I'm going to my desktop, and then I'm going to call it USC colors. I'm not sure it's the correct colors, but for the sake of the example, we're going to call it USC colors. So these colors, I can open it in any Adobe Illustrator file that I want. I can go in and open it, and I'm going to show you how I work with it in a minute. But what if I wanted to open these colors in Photoshop later? Because I want to use some of the icons in Photoshop to create a different kind of infographics. So I can go to the flyout menu, and I say save swatch library as ASE for exchange. And now I'm going to go in and I'm going to call it USC colors and save. And it is going to tell me that tints, gradients, and pattern are not including for exchange, which I know, and I'm good to go, and I have it here. So this is part one, just to get to know the colors. Anybody has a questions about color? I know it's pretty elementary when you start working with Illustrator, but one thing you need to remember, that Illustrator is a file-based application, like InDesign. When you open the file, it will open it with its own colors, as opposed to Photoshop, that is an application-based software. So the swatches, the symbols, and everything else that you have is part of your application and not so much part of your file. So with that said, if you don't have any question, let's start looking at simple shapes right now. And I'm just going to build simple shapes completely. I'm going to go into new file new, and let's say I'm going to do it 8.5 by 11. I'm going to make it, I'm going to call it shapes. And I have also an option to create more than one artboard. So I'm just going to go in and I create now 2 artboards. So you can see over here, I have the 2 artboards, but look at the colors that I have over here when I started. I have no recollection of the colors that I had from the USC colors that I wanted to go in and work with. And let's say for today, maybe we do want to work with the USC colors and don't want to work so much with these colors. So I'm going to go to the flyout menu and I'm going to say select all unused. And then all of them are going to go away for a little bit. And now all the way down at the bottom of the swatch panel, you have an icon that looks like a library. And yes, it is the swatches library, which you can load tons of colors over here. But I'm going to go to other library, and then I'm going to find my USC colors. And I'm going to click it as a USC color as AI file. And look what I get over here. So now I'm going to click on each global color that I have over here. And right away, they're over here in my swatches panel. So if I'm going to save my file right now, which is super important, file save as, and then I'm going to save it either on my computer or to my cloud. Right now, I'm going to do it. I'm going to say shape underscore icons. And I'm going to save it. So now it is saving it with this swatch that I have. You might tell me, well, I kind of wanted to have all the grays that I have in the folder before in case I want to use it. So how would I bring it? No harm done. I can go all the way down to the library at the bottom left, and I'm going to go into my default swatches. I'm going to go to the default print. I don't want to have all the colors. I'm just going to bring the folder over here. So you can see the folder or the group of the grayscale colors that I have over here. And if I want to add, let's say, one kind of gradient, I can bring it over here and just use the colors that I want. Of course, you can add different kind of colors. And as soon as you save your file, these are the color swatches that you have to create the stuff that you have. So let's look at some working with shapes right now. So where are my shapes over here? I'm going to have here the rectangle, round rectangle, and ellipse. And then I do have the line, the arc, the spiral, rectangle grid tool, and polar grid tool. But what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to go into my rectangle. And if you click one time on the screen, you can create a rectangle, and I'm going to go and maybe make it as a square. I'm going to make it 4 inches by 4 inches. And this is what I have, and I'm going to move it, let's say, to the center. So now depending, and that's what you want to start looking at. I'm going to start building my icon, and I'm going to use different kind of tools. So if I'm going to my properties panel, I have the appearance panel embedded within the property panel. It will tell me the fill. It will tell me the stroke that I have. It will tell me the opacity, maybe special effect, and maybe I want to go and put gradient and other stuff that I can work with. I'm going to go in and go to click on the stroke. And for now, I say none. I really don't feel like having a stroke right now. And I'm going to the fill. And since we're working with USC color, I'm going to click over here and click on the dark color over here. And then I have kind of like a nice looking rectangle. What else do I want to do with it? I want to go and maybe create the house that you saw before. So I'm going to click on the star tool. And I'm going to click one time on the screen. And this is the default star tool with a default size and a default point. So maybe I want to do it with kind of like 3 points. And I'm going to click OK. And then this is my star that I have right now. And I have the star and I have the points over here. Not sure I want to go and work with the star because this is not exactly how I want it. So I might jump over to the polygon and I'm going to click and drag and draw the polygon. And this is what it calls live drawing with Illustrator. And if I go to the bottom arrow, I'm going to tap it and tap it down and look what I have over here. So now I have some kind of a triangle. Can make it smaller, I can make it bigger. And yes, I'm holding now the shift key so you can see it constrained the aspect ratio that I have over here. But if I don't, if I make it bigger and smaller, it's not constraining it. And I'm just going to go in and click on that and bring it over to the house over here. And then I'm just going to go in and make it bigger and make it a little bit bigger. And depending how I want to do, look at this, it does look like a little house already. And I'm going to select the two of them right now. And then in my properties panel, I see the align panel. And then I can align it to a selection, key object, or artboard. If I'm doing it too fast, please stop me, because if you never used Adobe Illustrator, it's kind of harder to navigate through the elements that I'm going through. So I'm going to try to do it as simple as I can. I'm going to go back here, and then I'm going to align it center, so you can see the center. You don't want to do it to vertical center, because that's going to jump to the vertical area. So I have it right now. And what I want to do right now is I want to make it into one object. So how do you make it into one object? And if it is a one object in Illustrator, it is going to be one color. That's one thing that we have to talk about it. So how do I make it to one object? Different ways for me to do it, depending what you want to go and see. If I'm going to go to object, compound, and make, look what happened right now. It is one object, but what the compound is doing, it punching a hole with the area that it is overlapping. In this case, it's overlapped. I don't want to do that. So Command Z or Edit Undo, I'm going back to my original. Other things that I can work, there is a wonderful tool over here that's called the Shape Builder tool. And the way the Shape Builder tool is working, it will go in and merge. I should call it merge, but it's making it into one shape. They do need to overlap. And then also you can decide to change the color while you merge them. So the color in the center, it is the color of the current color that you have now. But if I go into my swatches panel and start going with my arrow keys, you can see that it starts going to the colors that I have in my swatches panel. So now I can merge it together and make it into one shape by also go in and change the color. So I drag a line and look what happened. So it is one object. If I don't like that, all what I need to do is go backwards to the other color and do one click, and this is my color that I had before. But now I'm going to do something else. I'm going to go in to click and create some kind of a door over here. And for the sake of the demo, I'm going to give it another color. And I'm going to select the two of them. And now I want to make sure they are centered exactly. I don't want to do it center to the top unless this is what I want. I'm just going to go into the center. But in this case, what I really want to do is I want to punch a hole and then go in and punch a hole and have it kind of empty. But before that, I'm going to do something else. I'm just going to go in and click and drag another rectangle and then click and rotate it, make it a little wider and move it and put it somewhere inside here. So that's going to be maybe a chimney or something else. So I'm going to select that little square and hold down the shift key and select the house. I can go into my shape builder tool and tell it to go and merge together. And if I don't want to go there, I can go to Window and then find out my Pathfinder. And the first symbol in the Pathfinder is the Unite command. And I'm just going to go and unite it. And because it was a different color now, I united it and made it to this color. So if I'm going to change it right now, I'm changing it back to the color. Go to Object, Arrange, and Send Back. And now you see the other color over there on top. But now I'm going to select the house and the door that I have. And I'm going to go to my Shape Builder tool. And instead of dragging and merging it, I'm going to hold down the Shift key, the Option key, and then I'm going to create a compound. And look what happened. I created a hole over here, and that could be my first icon for something that I want to go and work with. If I really want to save it for now, I can go in and make it a little smaller. Doesn't matter with the colors that you have. I can save that as a file right now. And also I can go to my symbols panel, go to the flyout menu, call it new symbol, and call it house 1. So when I create it into a symbol, if I go in and put it all over the place and then decide to edit one symbol, it will reflect upon the entire area that you have. I made it into a symbol and I'm saving, but I'm going to go in and duplicate it. Holding down the Option key, I'm duplicating, or you can do Command C or Control C and duplicate it, and Command V. So copy and paste, it's the same. So now I don't want to change this icon. I want to go and edit the symbol, but I'm just actually not editing it. I'm going to break the link. So when you break the link, this guy is not a symbol anymore. This house is a symbol. Now I'm going to go and create something a little bit different. Let's go to our properties panel. Let's go to our stroke and add a golden stroke and then make it a little bit bigger. So look what I have over here. I have a fun looking stroke over here. If I wanted to just save that as a symbol, I'm going to click here and I'm going to say new symbol and I'm going to say house with a stroke. And I want you to pay attention because each time I save it as a symbol, I can load the symbol gallery later and send it to somebody and they can start creating their infographics by working with something. But I want to go and continue editing it. So option clicking. And in order to change it and not edit the others, I'm going to break the link. So once you break the link of the symbol, it's basically not a symbol anymore. And now you can do different changes and it's not going to reflect upon the former symbol that you have. Now I'm going to go to my effect menu bar. And in the effect, and I'm going to do two kind of effects. I'm going to duplicate it. And I'm going to zoom it. The first effect going to go and be the older effect. I'm going to go to Effect, 3D and Material, and I'm going to go to 3D Classic. And the 3D Classic, I can say Extrude and Bevel. And what I have over here, I have a menu for the 3D. The default extrude is 50 point. I can also go in and map it with something that I already have in my symbols panel if I have something that I want to bring it. So let's say I have a USC symbol. I can go in and symbol and put it inside the area that I have. But before that, let's investigate that. You can go in and change the extruding. You have different kind of bevels. So you can go in and do different bevels and you can start playing with it. And the more bevels you have, it's going to look a little bit more complex. I'm just going to stay with the classic bevel, which is the regular one, or even with none. This is a 3D, but it's a 3D effect that it doesn't really change anything for the underlying project. So what does it mean? If I click OK, and then I go to View and Outline, look at that. It looks exactly like the other one before. It's basically an effect that goes on top of that. It's not a real 3D, but it looks like 3D right now. So now I'm going to go back here to the full screen. Let's say I really wanted to try at least to go in and put some kind of a USC symbol on it. Of course, I can just put it on top and rotate it, but what if I wanted to have it within the 3D? What I'm really going to do now, I'm going to look if I have some kind of a USC symbol. Not sure I have it, but I'm going to go and look at the icons and see if I have USC symbols. I have sample icons, which I don't have it. Sample stock, I don't have that. I'm going to look at image trace, and I don't think, and I look at the map, I don't have a USC symbol over here. But I do know that I have something like this actually in my some of my libraries. So I'm going to go into my Stream AI and I'm looking to see if I have some kind of USC logos over here that I can go and work with. And then I can see in this one, I don't have. And then let's say I'm going to go into Adobe Express. And maybe in Adobe Express, look at that. Yay, I do have some USC stuff over here. So I might go into, let's say, which one should we look at that might look okay? I'm going to go into a simple one and drag and drop it to my panel and click over here and I have it here. So now I have it here. And then if I'm looking at my layers panel, it will tell me that it is basically something that I brought from the library. And if I go into my links panel, and I'm going to find it over here, it is going to tell me that it's something that tied to my library. If it tied to my library, I cannot make it into a symbol right now. So really what I'm going to do, I'm going to embed the image. And now I'm going to put that in my library. And then I'm going to call it USC icon. So you can see I just brought it, found it, and it's all good. And now I'm going to go to my file over here. And in this case, I want to change the stuff. So I'm going to go to my bevel and emboss that I did before. I'm going to click on it and I'm going to do map art. And let's say, whoa, there's a lot of stuff here. So I'm going to go in and map it. So maybe it will map it over here. If I'm lucky, I'm going to go in and bring it over. And then I have the USC over here. And then I don't see it over here because it's not part of it. I'm going to move on to another area. And you can see I have different kind of surfaces that are going to tell me where can I actually go in and put the stuff that I have. So as soon as I'm going to get the entire house, I might try to go in here and then put the surface over here. And again, I don't see that because maybe it is in a different area. Again, you can start searching, and then this is the top. Not sure I'm going to get the right one, but I'm just going to go just because I have a lot of surfaces over here. And then I'm looking to see if I can go in and bring it over. Maybe I missed something already. And then all of a sudden, I'm just going to look to see the entire surface. If I don't get it, that's okay too. I can go and just put the file in there. So if I don't find it right now, I'm going to click OK and really going to my symbol over here. I'm going to hold on the Shift key and then I'm just going to put it here. So in this case, it's not part of my 3D, but I just have it here and I can go and play with it later. I can select that and group it and I have some stuff with it. But if I'm going to go and change the look of the 3D, it's not going to take the image with it. And by the way, I can also click on the image over here or the shape. I can go to my appearance panel and go back here and change the blending mode and change it maybe to overlay or maybe soft light. And now you can see it looks like it's part of the image, but it is actually not really part of it, but I have it over here. So now I'm going to select the second one. And in this one, I'm going to go to Effect, 3D and Material, and I'm going to go to the new 3D effects. So the new 3D effects really are on the screen right away for you. And then you can go in and do it on the screen like you cannot really do it with the old 3D. So now I have a different look of the house over here. And then you can see that I have the opening, I have the shape. I can play with the depth. I can play with the twist if I don't want to do it with the twist over here. I can play with the shape. And then I can go in and go and play with the stuff that I have. So I can go into the bevel if I wanted to go and have something in it. But if I go to material, here is the good thing. You can get some material that are really part of your machine. It's really 3D material that you have over here. You can go in and map the material right away in the stuff, and that tells you what kind of material you have. Or you can go to your graphics and basically bring it here. And now when I have it here, you can see that when I'm going back to the stuff, I can go in and change the material that I have here. And then this one is basically the extruding. And now if I go in and play with the depth, you can see now that the symbol is actually part of it. So it's a different kind of a 3D that you can go and bring some kind of material to it and then go back. I don't want this material over here. These are all the regular material. And then I'm just going to go in and click on the material and just do the default. And this is what I have right now. So I'm saving it and I'm going to zoom out right now. So now let's look at what if you needed to create some kind of an infographics and create some kind of a story. Of course, you can have a beautiful background, any kind of image that you can bring in, but you can also go into the image that you have, and I'm going to go and bring it here. And then maybe that's going to be the character and the main story that you have. And then you can have some kind of text. I'm not going to do any text right now, but if you click and drag kind of like a frame over here, you're going to have the text for position only. So I can zoom in, and then for position only, I can go and select all and decide that I want to create a fun looking text over here. So maybe I want to go and work with Myriad Pro, but in this case, I want to go in and make that semi-bold condensed italic. If I wanted it to be with a certain color, I can go in and I can call it home based story. I'm making it up. And I'm going to do select all. And in this case, I'm actually going to my paragraph, doing it to the center. And then I can decide what color. And then I'm going to say telling the story of our company. Text like this will come probably for the marketing person, and then you can go back here, and that's going to be the beginning of the stuff that you have. How would you like to do the infographics, and what kind of sample and icons do you want to do? Different kind of icons going to bring different kind of things that you have. You can also open some icon that you already have. So if I'm going to go into my icons, I have some kind of icons that I have, and then I have some kind of template. And in the template over here, you can see UI icon, application, material icon, and sketch template. I'm going to go in and open the UI icon. And look what I have over here. Different kind of UI icons over here that I can go in and start working with. So if I don't want to build something, I can just go in and copy one of them. Let's say I'm going to copy the arrow over here. And then I'm going to go back here and paste it. And it's pretty small, but no harm done. I'm just going to go back here and just bring it over. I can rotate it. I can also go to fill and then maybe create and make that the USC area arrows over here. So depending how you want to go and do that, maybe you want to go and create different arrows all around. So what if I wanted to do it all around with a certain side of a circle around? I can go and start rotating it, but I can actually go into my rotate tool, double click on it, click on the preview, and then before doing that, select it, and option click to the center of the home. And now let's say I'm going to do it 45 degrees. And I'm going to preview, and I'm going to do copy. And now I can do object, transform, and transform again. And Command D, transform again. And look what I have over here. Of course, this is a little tight over here, but that can be a beginning of something or a simple stuff that you want to start working. If I want this one to be a little smaller, it is going to be a little smaller over here. And look what I have over here. I basically have some stuff that I can start bringing icon or telling a story. So if I'm going to click on the text and option click and drag a copy, I can start creating different kind of stuff over here. And the way I want to work with it is basically I'm going to go in and tell a story based on the text that I have over here. And now I'm going to click over and look what I have. And I can change it if I want. I can do different kind of icons. But in this case, I created something already and I can put it on top of even a Photoshop image or something. And I have a beginning of an infographics, but the icons I used in Illustrator. So you're going to tell me, what if I don't have this template? Of course, you can download it from anywhere that you want, but you can make your own arrows in Illustrator as well. I'm going to go to my artboard tool, and I'm going to create another artboard here. And now let's look at creating some arrows over here. I'm going to go to the line tool. And I'm going to click and drag, holding down the Shift key, a straight line. I'm going to go to the stroke and make that magenta, and then make that a little bit bigger. Maybe I'm going to make it 4 points. So while I have the stroke panel, I have arrowheads all the way down. So I can go in here and say I want arrow 1 to be in one place. Do I want to have it in the end also? Hallelujah, I have it here. I do have my first arrows over here. Can I make it into a symbol? Absolutely. Can I put that in my Creative Cloud library? Of course I can. So if I want to go to my Creative Cloud library right now, and then I'm going to go back here, click and add the graphics. And now you can start seeing different graphics coming over here to the area that you have. So I did one arrow over here. I can do different arrows at any time. So anytime that I click on it, I'm going to duplicate that. And then I'm going to go to the stroke, and I don't want to have the end. I say none. And then in the front, I want an arrowhead that looks like that, a nice one. So look at this. I have a different kind of arrowhead. Can I change the look of the arrowhead? Absolutely. Click on that, hold on the Option key, and now go to your pen tool. And then with the pen tool, click on the Add Anchor Point. And I'm just going to click somewhere in the center of the stroke. And I'm going to zoom into it. Now I'm going to go to my modifier, which is my direct selection tool. I'm deselecting and reselecting, and then look what I can do. I have an arrow that looks like that. So that's a different kind of arrow, and I'm going to go back here, and how about doing something that looks like this? That looks okay. Another thing that I can go here, I can select it. Oh, by the way, it doesn't look straight. So I'm going to go back here, select it, and make it really, really straight over here. So it's going to be nice and straight. And now I can make it even smaller. So maybe I want an arrowhead that looks like that. But look at this. Can I change that? I can select it, and on purpose, each time I select it with the regular selection tool, I'm creating another copy, so I'm not overwriting the one that I have. And now I can go to my stroke again, And then I can change different stuff. So I can change the side of the weight, but if I'm going just to scale, just the arrow here, the stroke is going to stay the same, but the arrowhead is going to be a little smaller. So there's different ways to work with it. Can I go in and make it a round one? Absolutely. I can go into my direct selection tool, just select the anchor all the way on the top, and then click on the handles in my control to convert the selected anchor to a smooth one. And look what I have right now. I have a smooth anchor at the moment. Do I like it? I'm not sure, but I can work with it. So again, you can have different kind of arrows. Can you do that with the shape tool? I mean, with the brush tool? Absolutely. I'm just gonna go in and click on the brush, and then I'm gonna click on the stroke, and then I'm gonna go in and click on the brush that I have. I'm going to select that and then undo it from a brush. So once I like it like this, I'm gonna go to object, I'm gonna expand the appearance, and now it is not a stroke anymore, but I can do different kind of stuff with it. What else do you have here? You see, I mentioned brushes. So how about going to brushes and start using some stuff from here? And look at that. We have arrow special, arrow standard, and arrow pattern. So I'm going to go into arrow special. And look what I have over here. This is basically a brush. So if I'm going to go to a brush, and I'm just gonna draw with it. I'm gonna draw with the brush. You can see over here, I'm drawing with the brush. And if I'm making the stroke a little bit bigger, this is what I have over here. I'm gonna go back and I'm going to go to arrow standard. I'm gonna have standard arrows, and these are simple brushes. That's each time I click on it, it's just a simple. So you can go back here and work from that. And also you can go in and then arrow that are patterns. So these are going to go in and create something different for you. So let's say you have a graphics that you want to go and work with. I'm going to create another artboard. And now I'm going to go in and create a frame. And if I click on that, look what I have. I have a frame that has some kind of an arrow as, and you can click over here and look what you have. Just a frame over here. But if I'm going to go to just a straight line and click and drag the straight line and click on one of them over here and make it a little bit bigger. Look what I get over here. It is a brush that gets the color that I have here. And I can start creating something with it while working with these brushes. So brushes is another way for you to go through and start working. But let's go in and trace some stuff. Because we didn't use Illustrator as much, I'm going to go into Window, Workspace, reset my workspace, and everything is nice and clean right now. I'm going to start maybe working on something absolutely new, File and New. I'm going to go to Infographics, and I'm going to create. So pretend about something that we want to go and create an infographics about food. So I'm going to go in here, click over here and say new digital cafe. And I'm going to select all and make it a little bit bigger. And you can choose any kind of typeface that you want, any kind of colors. And then I'm just going to do Arial. And if I go to my properties over here, I might go in and make it all caps. Why not? And make that Arial bold. Of course, I can make it in different kind of colors. And the first thing I'm going to do over here, maybe find some kind of an icon that I want to go and work with the stuff. So maybe my main food that I have, I'm going to go in and look at my properties. I'm going to select a screen, a square. I'm going to make the screen white, the square, and I'm going to my properties panel, and I have a place says text to vector graphics. And I want to go in and create an icon because we're working with icons right now. And I have different prompt for icons. Of course, I don't want to use that. I'm going to go into the prompt and work with that. And then I'm going to go in and say cakes with simple toppings and a cherry on top. Because maybe it's going to be something that works based on that. Again, in this case, I'm not drawing. I'm just getting something for inspiration in this case. And I'm waiting to see, and I can show it to a client, and then it's going to tell me, yes, use it or not. So I have a cake over here. I'm going to duplicate it, and I'm going to choose another kind of sample that I have. I'm going to duplicate that, and then this is going to be the other sample that I have. So I have the cakes and the icons. So maybe I want to go and talk about different kind of cakes and things like this. So I can go and continue working with it. I'm going to make this one smaller and this one smaller and this one smaller. Just smaller, because maybe I want to have another one, and then I'm just going to go back here. And then this time, I'm going to go back here to text with the, I'm going to say cakes with simple toppings and cherry on top. And then I'm going to make it a little bit more detail. And then I can go in and match it to active artboard style if I have a different kind of style over there already. So I can place a style over here, and then it is going to go to an active style. I mean, maybe I'm going to go and do this active style, and then I'm going to generate. In this case, it's generating it based on this style, but I can go to other styles and bring it in, and I asked it to be a little bit more complex. And I have something a little more complex, or maybe not. So I'm going to duplicate it. And then I can see that I have another sample, and I have another sample over here. And I can continue and building it to different one. Each one of them can be some kind of an icon, and I can send it to my client, but then it's going to ask me to do something else with it. So let's say I'm going to go to the first one over here. I'm going to go to my swatches panel, and then I'm going to drag and drop it to my swatch panel. And this is actually a pattern already. If I wanted to start designing something from my infographics. And of course, you can do your own pattern also in here, but I'm just going to use that. So I'm going to go in, and let's say this is going to be my first page. And then I'm going to click on the little muffins that I have here, and these are my patterns that I have over here. Once I have it, I can actually go in and change really the opacity. I can put it on top of the other one. I can also double click on it and then change stuff over here if I want. I can make it a little smaller and then even duplicate And then I can go in and have the simple one over here. You can see here I have some kind of a pattern from my graphics that I want to go and work with. Of course, the best way to do in Illustrator is to go back here and lock the selection so I'm not going to irritate the background for now. And now I can start creating stuff. What if I don't want to have these colors? So I can go into the one that I have here. I want to create different colors. I have something called Recolor Artwork. And believe it or not, you can do it based on the colors that you're going to choose. But you can also go back here and say, go into generative recolor and basically recolor it based on sample of prompts that you do. But I'm going to do the basic one. And then I'm just going to go in and click around and look at my cake right now. So I decided, oh, I have a bright color already, or I want to have it grayscale for some reason. And I'm going to go and click OK. So let's say I had it grayscale. But now I'm going to double click and zoom into it. And then because it is vector, I can go now to this area, double click to isolate it, and then double click over here and find another color. So look what I have right now. I do have another kind of symbol, could be more mine over here. And then I'm going to go back to the color inside. And then I'm just going to go in and change it to a lighter color. So nobody said that you need to go and choose the color that you had before. I have a symbol already now that I want to go and work with. So I'm going to select it. And I'm going to zoom out. And then I might go into my symbol and go in and say new symbol. And I'm going to call it cake 1. And now I'm going to start writing something. And depending on my infographics, I can go in and just click over here and just go and change some stuff. And now I can start, let's say, writing a text over here. And then I'm just going to go back here. And by the way, I still have the other stuff that I have. So even if I change the color, you can see that I'm going to start going to my original that I have. I didn't miss it. It's still in my variation. But over here, this is maybe the base colors that I have over here. And these guys are my symbols. So I'm going to go in and click on the rotate tool and maybe option click to the center and then copy that. And I'm going to transform again. And I'm having some kind of the cakes that I have. It does look like a hat for the winter right now. But look how cool it is, because I'm showing you what I'm going to do right now. Each one has going to have some kind of text maybe to it. But in the symbol panel, this is what I have. I don't have a lot of stuff, so I'm going to go in and make a new symbol. And then I'm going to go into this little guy, and I'm going to make a new symbol. Of course, you want to name it. I'm not naming it right now, but you're going to see new symbol. And maybe you're going to go to the last few, and I'm going to say new symbol. And another one, new symbol. And this guy is a little too big. It's in a frame. That's fine. Everything is vector-based, so you have the possibility of changing it big and small, and you can start working. So I'm going to go to the first one, and then I have a stop place says replace link, replace symbol. So I'm going to go and replace it to this symbol. And I'm going to go to the next one, and I'm going to replace it to another one. I'm going to go to this one and I'm going to replace it and pretend I have a lot of different one. I'm going to go into the gray one and I'm going to replace it. So I made kind of like my circle, but now I'm going to replace the stuff that I have. And let's go back here. Maybe I have that. And I'm just going to go back here. I could have done a lot more cakes. I didn't do it, but you understand the whole idea. And now in the first one that I have, I'm just going to drag the main one. And maybe this is the main cake. And now I can go and write some stuff. You don't have to do it in a circle. You can start going in the infographics here and really start really writing something about your cakes that you have in the store. Is it an infographics kind of telling the story, but really giving some fun looking images that you have here just to play? And I did that with the AI text to image or text to vector. Again, you can change it completely to make your own, and any time that you have, you can go and select, and then look at that. In a minute, you'll see what I mean. And then I'm just gonna go and select the color over here and make it green. And if I double click on it, look what happened. Whenever I had the same symbol, look what happened right now. It changed along the way that you have. So again, you can create your own icons if needed, or you can go in and create or borrow stuff for any template that you have. So how would you create your own templates? I'm going to go into File and New. And then I'm going to go to make that maybe 4 by 4. So 4 inches by 4 inches. I'm going to do only, let's say, 4 artboards. And I'm going to click Create. So this is what I have right now. What if I wanted to create a template that's going to go to the infographics on a weekly basis, but it's going to be on a certain background or in a certain kind of base, and then you're going to go in and need to populate it each time. So what I'm going to do is really work with my shapes. I'm clicking one time and I'm going to make my rectangle 3.75 by 3.75. And I have it over here. And I kind of put it in the center of the artboard. So if I'm going to align to artboard, I'm going to do it center to center. And I'm going to go into edit and cut. And do edit and paste on all artboard. So look what happened right now when I paste it on all artboard. I'm just going to hide the bar right now. I have it on all my artboards right now. I'm going to do select all. And I'm going to go to window view and making it into guide. Make to guide. So every object in Illustrator can actually become a guide. And in this case, I'm going to go to my layers panel, which, by the way, layers are really for organization. I'm going to double click on the layer and I'm going to call it guides and background. And I want to go and select the guides, group it, Command G, and call it guides or margins. And I'm going to lock it. So basically, it's not going to move. I can turn it on and off later. And now I'm going to do the same thing with the rectangle tool. I'm going to click and drag a rectangle. This time, I'm going to change the round corners. And if you're looking at your properties panel, you will see that you can look at the round corners and change the round corners to different kind of sizes. I'm going to go to my swatches panel, and now I'm going to go and see that my swatches panel does not have the colors that I want. So I'm going to say select all unused. I'm going to delete it. And I'm going to go to the flyout menu, and I'm going to load the USC colors. And now I'm working with the USC colors. I'm just bringing them. So I'm going to make the background over here kind of light orange. I'm going to make the stroke maybe size 6, but I really want to go with this and make the stroke aligned to the center. So what I'm going to go to the appearance panel and then click on the stroke, and you can tell it to be in the center, align to inside, and align to outside. I'm going to say align to inside. That's all what I'm doing. Playing and creating a template. And then go to edit and cut. Edit, paste on all artboard. And I'm going to go into object and group. And then I'm going to call that background. And I'm going to lock it. I actually locking the entire layer. Now I want to save it. I'm going to do File, Save As. I'm not going to save it as an Adobe Illustrator file. I'm going to save it now as Illustrator template, AIT, and then I'm going to call it Info Icons. Because maybe every week I have to design, do something, and that's going to go into the infographics. I'm saving it. It has an AIT extension. I'm going to go in and create a new layer, and maybe I'm going to call it references. I'm going to put here a reference of something every week, but maybe I want to trace it if I need to do that. And then I'm going to go to another new layer, and I'm going to call it vector icons. And I'm saving. So really, I have a template. And now every week, I can go in and open the template. So I'm going to say select all, close all. And now I'm going to say file, open. And I'm going to go in to go back here to info icon, and look at that. It says AI, it says AIT, which is the extension Adobe Illustrator icon. And I'm opening it. And look how it opens. It opens as an untitled file. So prevents me from overriding my original file that every week has to look with the same background. I have another one here. If you wanted to see it sometime, you need to do something a little bigger. Let's say if I go into creating symbols, in the templates that I have, I say material icon, sketch template. Look at that. This is just a sketch template that I have over here. And these are kind of like thumbnails that I have. And each one of them is basically kind of a different kind of sketch that you have. And then all the way down here, you can see that you have the rectangles. And based on that, each one has a rectangle. So if you need to create something like this, I can show you a few ways to do it pretty fast in a second. But you have a sketch thumbnail, and then you can start sketching it and then show your client what do you want to start working on when you have to do that. But I'm going back here. It's untitled. I'm going to do save as. And then this time, I'm going to call that April 1 to 5 icons, because maybe it's based on dates. And this one is going to be an Illustrator file already. And now I can decide which one, what do I want to do? Can I start drawing it based on a drawing that I have? Or I can place something that I got from somebody else. I'm going to lock the vector icon and I'm just going to leave the reference layer open. So 2 layers are locked. 1 layer is open for me to receive the sketches. Yes. If you have any question, please do not hesitate. I know I'm running pretty fast with it, but you can go later and look at the recording and go over it or ask question if you did not follow me. And we can also take it to a different level in another seminar. And by the way, we do have a full-blown Illustrator class every semester. And we have something for the certification for Adobe Illustrator. And we have 10 weeks of Adobe Illustrator. And if you're interested, you can check out at the desk. Today, we're going to start some classes in the fall. We're going to have some online classes during the summer. In the fall, some of the classes are in person and some of them are online. I'm going to go to File and Place. And now I'm going to the area that I have my symbols. So I see over here, I have icon samples, and then I have double clicking on it. And then I have map AI. This is not the one that I wanted. So creating symbols, I'm going to go back here to find where I have the samples that I have. And then I'm going to look at my template. The template doesn't have it over here. Where are the files? Image trace, no, it's not here. Map project, Finder, it's not here. Grid, it's not here. Sample icon over here. For some reason, I don't have the stuff over here. Please disappear. Sample icon. Doesn't have it here. I'm going to have to take it. And if you need, I'm going to go in and, oh, it is under tracing, sorry. And then you can see icon to trace. And you do have a template. So if you got the files for me, because we send it to you and the presentation, you do have all the files. I'm going to double click on images to trace, and depending what I want to go and trace, and I'm going to choose something super, super easy to click. So I'm going to go into the code. I'm going to go back here to, let's say, no smoking. And maybe I'm going to go into radiation. And I'm going to go place, and I'm going to click and drag, and click and drag, and click and drag. And you can see they are really, really pixelated. There's something that you find, and you can do anything that you find to look at that. And while I have it here, I'm going to select the entire layer, and I'm going to go to template it. And you can see now it's locked, and it is 50% transparent. If I double click on it, I'm going to make it even 30% transparent. And then start tracing on it. And I'm going to go in and unlock the vector icons. And now I want to trace, but in this case, I want to do another one and trace it first. File and place. And I'm going to go, let's say, to the fire, or maybe I'm going to go to Mexican line art. And then I'm going to click and drag a copy. In this one, I'm going to zoom into it. I really do not want to start tracing it with the pen tool. The other one, this one, I want to go in and use image trace. And I want to show you that you can go to different icon and change it to image trace. So where is image trace? Image trace will be in your properties all the way down, and you see the word image trace. You also have it on your control, and you see image trace. Yeah. Oh, you don't have the control. If you don't have the control because maybe you're in a different workspace, go to Window, I'm glad you asked, and turn on the control. It's not on by default. It is on only for one workspace, which is the essential workspace. So if you turn it off, you don't see the control. You turn it on, you see the control. Great question. And this is why I have it. I still have it because I'm used to it. I think it might disappear in the future and they're just going to have the properties panel, but it's your choice if you want to use the two of them. So I'm going to go in maybe to the control now, since I mentioned it, and I can click on the word image trace. When you go there, by default, look what happens. Right away, believe it or not, it is already vector right now. If I'm going to open my layers panel, you can see it says image, but it traced it. And if I zoom into it, you see that it's already traced as image trace. But now I'm going to go and open my image trace panel. By the way, you do even have an image trace workspace. And then I'm going to click on the advanced and expand it. And what do I have here? I have presets. You can also create your own presets. You have high fidelity photo, low fidelity, 6 colors. This one looks to me like sketched art. And if I clicked on it on sketched art right now, if I go all the way down over here, it tells me ignore the white color. And when I'm ignoring the white color, also all the dots that you have there are being ignored. So you'll be able only to color them through your shape builder tool or live paint, which is another story. We're not going to get into it today. If I'm going to say not ignore white, this is how it's traced it. And I can make it a little bit better by changing a little bit the threshold, by changing the path. So you can change different things. And in this way, maybe I want to ignore white and look what I have. I have kind of like, and it's already an icon and it's already ready for you to change and do anything. But because if it's still on trace mode, it's really not going to let you do anything with it by print. If you want really to change the color, you're going to have to expand it. And as soon as you expand it, you can see that in your layers panel, they're going to call it group. And this is what you have. You have the eye, that if I'm going to select the eye, maybe I want to go in and make the eye one of the colors that I want, and maybe I want it to be like that. And then the body, if I want to go in and select just the body, I want to go and select the body and give it an orange one because we are doing USC, and this is what I have right now. So really, this is what I did, and you see image trace is not available anymore. So now I'm going to go in and look at my layers panel again. I'm going to collapse the group and I'm going to call it Mexican style image. And this is the one I did with image trace, and I'm going to lock it. So it's still in the same vector icons. I can even select that before locking it and bring it and make for me an icon via my symbol panel and drag and drop it, or bring it to my Creative Cloud library, whatever I decide. And now let's look, we don't have a lot of time, but I'm just gonna go and do the first one. So how do I wanna go and create the first one? I wanna create this kind of effect, and maybe I'm even gonna do it 3D. So I'm gonna start with something super simple. I'm gonna start with just a straight line, and maybe I'm gonna make it, let's say, dark orange, because maybe I'll do everything orange today. And I'm gonna do one straight line. And that's it. I did one straight line over here. Hopefully you see it pretty good over here. And then I'm going to mimic the other direction of the other line, which is not 45 degrees. So I'm kind of eyeballing it for like 210 degrees. And now I'm looking at my layers panel. I'm going to temporarily turn off the first big line. And I'm going to go over to my reflect tool that nests together with the rotate tool. So R for rotate, O for reflect. And I'm going to click. So it tells you by default that it wants to be to the center of the line. I'm going to option click to the bottom of the line to bring the dialog box. And if it's vertical, I'm going to click copy. And now I have two lines. If I'm selecting the two lines together, I'm going to go to Object, Path, and Join. And now you can see there are one path in my layers panel. I'm going to go to Object, Transform, and just reset the bounding box. Is it that important to do? It's really up to you. I like to see my bounding box really straightforward, so it does look really cool. Now I'm going to bring back the line. I'm going to go to my rotate tool, option click to the center of the entire object. And then this time, I don't want to do rotate, sorry, my mistake. I'm going to go into the reflect tool, of course. Option click to the center. And this time I'm going to reflect it horizontally. It's not in the correct position. No harm done. I'm going to copy. And I'm going to make it down, 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 more or less to the right position. And really all what I need to do is select all. I'm selecting the three elements, object and group. And I'm going to go in and figure out the size of my stroke. And this is really up to you. You can make the decision of the stroke to create the same effect. So you can see I'm using lines, rotate and reflect. That's it. No other stuff over here. And now I'm going to double click on my rotate tool. And it's going to go to the center. And I'm going to figure out what kind of angle I want to go and have. So I have 54, maybe it's going to be 60. And I look at the 60 and copy and transform again. Object, transform again, or Command D. And look what I have right now. And then if I select all and group it, I'm going to call this cold and save. So now I can leave it like that, or can just select it and go to Effect, 3D, and go to 3D Classic, Extrude and Bevel. And like I said before, this is my default extrude, but maybe I want to go and make it only 13 or maybe 18, or maybe I'm going to go in and make it 34. And if I click OK, look what I have now. I have a nice looking symbol over here. And if I turn off my references, Look at this, kind of looking good right now. Since it is an effect, nothing happened to the underlying image. If you go to view and outline, it's still the regular image that you have. It just has an effect on it. So if I don't like it, I can go back to my properties panel. I can go into my appearance panel, double click on extrude and bevel, and maybe make that only 20. And I'm going to look at the preview. And then I'm going to click OK. And I have something that looks like that. If I'm going to go in and add a color fill to it, this is what you're going to get. And you have some kind of a cold sample over here with the USC colors, which I actually traced very fast. And anytime you can have it without this 3D effect. And anytime you can select it, go to your symbol panel and say new symbol and call it cold. And now I am starting to build my symbol gallery that I have. I can also go back to this guy, which is going to be a little harder. I'm going to unlock it and lock the code. And you see, my workflow is I lock stuff that I don't need to use. Why? Because we are dealing with vector-based images. And when we're dealing with vector-based images, they have a mind of their own. They're going to be clicked on at any time, and they are going to ask you to just do something to them, and you don't want it to happen. So I'm going to go into this guy here, and let's try to make him into 3D Classic, Extrude and Bevel, and that's going to be a little harder. Because if I go back here to Extrude and Bevel over here, you can see if I click OK and click OK, you can see when you're doing it with images or something more kind of like advanced, it does kind of 3D and give it a depth, but it is controlled in a different way. And if I'm going to go and select that, and I'm going to go into the stroke and make the stroke a certain kind of color, you can see that this is what I'm getting here. So I made it a little bit different, but there's another way for you to go. So a lot of time people would love to go in and add some 3D quality to it. You can do it with the new one, and you can do it with the old one. Is up to you. I think we have a few minutes, unless you have any question. So let me go in and click and bring the references again. So again, I might go into the one all the way down here. And this one, you can do it in different ways. You can do it with the Pathfinder that you have, or actually we can do it this time with a really simple way by going to our favorite curvature tool. So if you're good with a curvature tool, you basically click, 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 and close, and this is what you have. And I'm doing it the shorter way, and now I'm going to double click on one corner and double click on another corner, and then click on the center and make it into a curve. Double click to make it a corner, double click to make it a corner, and look what I have over here. And then if I want it to be kind of like a curve, I'm just going to make it into a curve right now. It does not have to be exactly the way it is, the way it's in the drawing. And then I'm going to go in and just fill it with a color. So now, if I'm going in and clicking on the rotate tool and option click to the center, I'm going to go in and let's say, how do I want to go in and have that over here? So I'm going to go back here And if I go and do copy and transform again, this is what I get right now. So now it is really up to me. Do I leave it like this, or I have it only with the 3? Because maybe I do want to create something with that. So what I'm really going to do is I'm going to go to the one I don't want and then turn it off. I'm not going to delete it. I'm just going to turn it off in case later I want to go in and use it again. And then I'm just going to go back here, click on that, turn it off. And I have the one that I really want, and I have them here. And really all what I'm going to do is go to my ellipse tool, Option Shift, and create an ellipse. And this is what I have over here. And I'm going to call it radiation. And I'm going to select the one that I want to work with, and I'm going to group it. And I'm going to go and call that radiation. And turn off the reference. A longer way to do it is with a Pathfinder, just cut out some areas, but I think it's looking pretty cool right now. And if it doesn't really match exactly, you can also go and move it a little bit. If the spaces are not perfect, you can just move it. So now I'm going to select them, the entire group, and Effect, and 3D Classic, Extrude and Bevel. Click on the preview, and now you can see that you have some kind of depth. I'm not going to do it as deep. I'm going to do it 26 and click OK. And really, I'm going to go to my stroke panel and then go in and give it a stroke. And this is what I have right now. I'm going to zoom out, and this is what I have. And then I didn't do any stuff to that. No harm done, because I can go in here and then I going to my effect, hold on the Option key and bring it over. And then I'm going to go and create the same effect to it. Or I'm just going to go in and bring it over to the one that I have. So you can see here, it's rendering my artwork in a minute, and I'm going to get an effect to the circle. And once again, sometimes things are going to be traced great, and sometimes you're going to do it with the pen tool or the curvature tool. I'm just giving you ideas how to start creating stuff with Illustrator. We did it pretty fast, but we're going to work with, whenever you work with shapes, you're going to create your own icons over there. And then if I go back here and select and give it some kind of a stroke over here, you're going to get the color of the stroke. But if I don't want it to be so big to the circle, I can change the stroke. I can change the effect. And by the way, all the stuff you can save, the graphic style, you can do a lot of stuff to make life a lot easier. I just gave you kind of like a little overview. What can you do with Illustrator to create shapes, effects, icons? And look at that. Just the last one before we're doing it, I'm going to go in, and then I'm going to go back to my effect panel, and then I'm just going to go back and it's going to tile layer. So you can see here, I have it over here. I don't know what happened to this guy. It got some kind of a different effect over here, which if I don't want it, I can bring it back. So really what I have here now, I can save it as a PDF file, which is a save as. I can save it as an Illustrator file, of course. I can actually export everything to individual artboards and have icon by icon to send to my client. So many possibilities. that you have here in Adobe Illustrator each time you are going to work with something. Any question so far? I know we ran very fast, but I hope you kind of like enjoy the idea. Now I can save the file. And I have that in Adobe Illustrator file. And then I can go to File, and I can go to Export, and I can say Export As, and then I can export everything as a PNG or File and export for screen. And I can go to my artboard, and I don't want to do the empty one. So I'm just going to do the one that I created something. And it tell you the range, and then I can export it as a PNG, SVG, or PDF. And I'm going to go in and export it, and it's going to be directly on my desktop. And now if I click over here, this can go directly to my client to get the symbols that I have over here, and it's all good. The one that didn't look good is the last one, which I kind of like messed it up, but it is okay, and it's all good. So any questions so far to what we did today? So basically, we looked at how to create the infographics, but we didn't go deep into the infographics. We went more into creating the icons for the infographics. We looked at retro. I mean, looked at text to vector. We looked at what is infographics to start with, just sample of killer infographics and the website over there. What do you have to look for? We have sample of icons, sample of storytelling infographics over here. So if I'm going to zoom into it, you can see that you have really the story and the copyright, and it doesn't have a lot of information. And your eye-catching is actually the eye-catching icons that you have, which is really cool. And this is more or less the topics that we got into. A little bit of Pathfinder, a little bit of drawing tool. We created some symbols. We drew a few shapes. We did image trace. We looked at the shape builder. We didn't get into the chart and graphs, maybe another time. And with that said, I want to thank you guys for coming today, and I am going to stop the recording, and then I am going to post it on our portal, and then hopefully I'll see you next time. And thank you for coming. And if you have any questions, let me know.